Hi, my beautiful souls. Welcome back to Twin Flames Defined. Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that goes beyond the scope of being a twin flame. It's just a general thing that happens in our world and in this realm, but a lot of people aren't aware of it, and it really does affect twin flames. It's really good information for twin flames especially to know, so I thought I would just kind of get on here and do a little video about it. One of the things that people aren't aware of is that if you're a feminine, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter all the other extra details. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a twin flame, like all those things don't matter. If you're a feminine on our planet, right, you have to know that your energy, okay, your energy is a vibration that it like transmute and heals karma. So when you are paired with a partner, okay, typically in our heterosexual society, you typically see the male and the female, right? So I'm just going to talk about it in those terms so you can get what I'm talking about, but you can flip this to wherever it needs to go for whatever, details you have for your situation. But so you have a feminine, right? And no matter what kind of energy she's in, right? No matter if like she's like the best person in the world or the worst person in the world, she is naturally, it's like she's a filter for karma, okay? So what ends up happening, especially if she's a good, healthy, divine feminine, okay? Now that's more rare in our world, but when you're a twin flame, you wake up to your divinity, like all those things happen, right? And so the feminine has like this natural, like it's built within our energy complex, okay? Where you filter and you transmute and you heal karma just naturally, like without even knowing that we're doing it. So all the feminines on this planet are doing that, and they're not even recognizing that they're doing it. They do it at a larger rate than a masculine dominant energy, okay? So usually typically a male, right? Because the male dominant energy isn't structured in the same fashion that the feminine is, okay? And so with that being said, right, you'll see in a relationship, like in a union or a marriage, right, and it doesn't have to be with your twin flame, it could be with a karmic, right? You'll see the feminine, she'll be filtering and transmuting karma for the both of them without even understanding, because most people don't understand the basics of how energy works on our planet and the inner workings of how energy works within human beings and the relation to the planet and all that kind of stuff, right? But I do. And and so I'm going to teach you a little bit about it, that the feminine energy has those components that naturally make it do that. So without even recognizing it, what ends up happening is in a relationship, the feminine, or typically the female, right, but not always, she'll be transmuting and she'll be healing and she'll be clearing out karma for the masculine dominant energy in the relationship. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little personal example so that you guys can kind of see what's going on. Probably most likely a lot of twin flames is really typical. I'm not like an outlier in this at all. So I married a karmic, right, who was my soulmate. He definitely a karmic, and he was not at the same level of love and light and energy frequency that I am, right? But obviously we had to be in the same realm of frequency to match and to be together and to be paired at that time, right? So I was unhealthy, but I wasn't doing harm to others outside of me. I was just, and this is really common for females in our society, right? I was turning the destruction and I was harming myself. I never had the natural or like the desire to like harm other people. I'm really empathic, so I would just harm myself versus harming other people, right? So I was a people pleaser. I would overextend myself and like do all these things, right? So karma plays into everything energetically. But my masculine, who I was married to, who was my karmic, he wasn't such a good person, right? And he would go out and he would do things. He would steal physical things from people and places. He would manipulate people and lie and cheat and be dishonest. And so his karma, right, on a daily basis was he was in debt karmically, energetically, okay? So I would go out in the world as the feminine part of the union, and I would do, good things and try to make love and light in people's lives. And so I would raise, and it would be in the positive of the karma, right? I would have positive karma when I came home, right? So I would go out in the world, raise the karma, and he would go out in the world and lower the karma, okay? And then we would come together and we would come home and we would make love, or we would just live cohesively or whatever, right? So all those things, but especially sex has a big effect on your guys' energy and energy exchange. And that is part of the filter, females, that you have to understand that's going on, okay? But you come home, you have sex, you live, you do whatever. Then the energy from both parties, the karma from both parties comes together to blend. And if this one is really, really did good and this one did really, really good, well, guess what it does? Brings you guys down into the middle. And so then the karma from both parties, right, it exchanges and so essentially the feminine is being the filter for the masculine's negative energy. And the masculine is polluting the feminine's positive karma and positive energy, right? And so this is what you have to think of, and this is what you have to know, is that, and this goes beyond twin flames. This is not just twin flame stuff. This is in the world in general, okay? And it doesn't have to just be just the feminine, right? It could actually be flopped, right? But the way that, and not saying that women are better than men, because that's not what this is about, right? Or feminines are better than masculines even. That's not what this is about at all. This is about, I'm just showing you an example of the typical, right, in the twin flame dynamic of usually what happens. But within the feminine energy, she is wired, right? The feminine energy is wired to transmute and evolve and clear and push towards the love and light, okay? So that is actually part of the makeup. Now, we both have within us. So singularly, a masculine has that, but he has a smaller, lower scale version of that naturally within inside of him, okay? And it's not as dominant in his energy field. That filtering so that example that I gave you was talking about the person actually going out there and doing karma and assuming karma, right? And bringing that to the table. But there's also this other second piece that's completely separate that I'm talking about, is the filtration system. But so what we're seeing in mainstream society, right, is we'll see male, typically, this is just an example, guys, so don't get all fixated on the male-female thing. But you'll see a male, he'll get with a female. So I'm just showing you male dominant or masculine dominant, female dominant. They get together. Her energy is constantly, and her karma is constantly clearing, filtrating his, and vice versa and it is vice versa, because in my example, mine was taking my positive energy that I had done so many beautiful things and diminishing it and sucking it dry every single fucking day. Okay. And so I wasn't receiving any of that karma in my reality. There was no way to do that. When the karma is being spent before it's accounted for, it's as if you didn't do anything, right? And it's not that as if you didn't do anything, because it's not that simplified, right? But if that makes sense, there's a filtration system. The feminine dominant is more prominently a filtration system, clearing, cleansing, and accelerating the positive, loving energy. Honestly, to tell you the truth, that's why feminine energy is more nurturing. Okay. If you want to like go out there and research energy and stuff. And like I said, we have both within inside of us. So as an individual, you have both. It's not like to say that you're all or nothing. It's not that, right? But then, so just know when you see like a male and a female, and then watch when they divorce, right? Watch what happens individually in the lives, right? Because actually a lot of that karma comes back to the masculine, okay? And we see that repeatedly over and over and over again. There's usually an influx of like the feminine's energy that flushes through immediately, and then after you get past that hump for the masculine, continues to watch what happens. But yeah, so if you're sleeping with a man, just know that you are taking on his karma, okay, feminines. That's why just random sex with random people is, I know that we've got a lot of sticky beliefs around that, and organized religion has really screwed us into the ground with that whole like sex thing, right? But I'm going to tell you, it's not just straightforward a physical act. There's a lot of energy stuff that goes into sex. Sex is sacred, right? And we don't treat it as such in our current societies, but that's one of the reasons why. It's because it's in an energetic exchange, and you're blending your energies when you do it. You're blending your energies together, and you're receiving their trauma, their sexual trauma, and they're receiving yours, and you're both receiving karma. So just know that. So just be cautious of who you mix your energy with, and who you decide that you're going to be a filter for, because that you're essentially being a HEPA filter for some people that have really nasty low frequency energy, and that are not honest, that are not truthful, that are not forthright, and don't have the same morals and values for you. And so when you spend your time with them, if you even you don't even have to be physically with them. If you're like sitting there thinking of them, having thoughts of someone, that's an energy exchange, whether you like to think about it or not. So this was just a little bit of Energy 101. I hope that helps somebody. All right, don't forget to love yourself. Okay, bye.